And now, coming to you live from an undisclosed location deep in the heart of American flyover country, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. Welcome to the Christian Whistleblower channel. We may be under the radar, but we're always over the top. And sometimes things just hit right in the wheelhouse of the Christian Whistleblower. And this is one of those stories. This is one of those times. Hello to everybody in the chat room. Nice to see you all here. Hard Cold Truth, Lee 365, April Corvin, Arena's Light, Rocky Stucci, Natasha Maxwell, Bruce Amen, who's being a little naughty, Harry, She Said It, Tracy Dyer, CL, Danielle, Mandy, Identity, Aaron. They're flowing in faster than I can mention all the names. Hello, Chase Corrington, who has a great YouTube channel himself that he's building up. Go ahead and take a look at the Chase Corrington channel. All you have to do is go by his name over there on the right. You got those three little dots, and it'll take you right to his channel. So give it a look, give it a subscription. Chase got his inspiration to start his channel, at least partially, from watching this one. So we always want to support those that come and grow from within. Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Pompeo, and I got a bug flying around in here. The first bug of spring, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? Mike Pompeo is the United States Secretary of State. So Mike Pompeo holds the highest diplomatic office in the United States government. So Mike Pompeo holds the highest diplomatic office in the most powerful and influential nation on the face of planet Earth. And how do I get rid of this thing? There we go. And Mike Pompeo agrees that it's possible that God, and he's talking about the God of the Bible, and I'll tell you how I know that in just a minute. The United States Secretary of State says it's possible that the Lord, Jehovah, the being that calls himself Yahweh, the rat bastard, he's saying it's possible that Jehovah raised Donald Trump to protect Israel from Iranian aggression. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Secretary of State of the United States of America. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo agreed with a suggestion posed in an interview Thursday that it's possible God raised Donald Trump to be president in order to protect the nation of Israel. In an interview in Jerusalem, the Christian Broadcast Network, CBN, that's Pat Robertson's network, said to Pompeo, quote, and I'm reading from the CNN Politics by Julian Gallagher, 6:29 a.m. Saturday, March 23rd, quote, could it be that President Trump right now has been sort of raised up for such a time as this, just like Queen Esther, to help save the Jewish people from the Iranian menace? And then Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, highest diplomatic office in the most powerful and influential nation on planet Earth, said these three words, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to talk about these three words, and we'll talk about the rest of this. He said, as a Christian, I certainly believe that is possible. But hold on, it gets worse. Pompeo added that he is, quote, confident that the Lord is at work here, end quote. When he sees the, quote, remarkable history of the faith in this place and the work that our administration's done to make sure that this democracy in the Middle East, this Jewish state, remains. And remember, keep this in context. This has already happened after Trump has recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, which happened after Donald Trump made the plans and started the process of moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. And it must be said again, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, dealing with the Golan Heights have always been two things that have been held back to force Israel to come to a meaningful peace with its neighbors and to act like a responsible member of the community of nations, ladies and gentlemen. This really worries me, and it worries me for a few reasons. Number one, if Mike Pompeo is a Christian, and he just said he's a Christian, and if Mike Pompeo believes that God wants Donald Trump to protect Israel from Iranian aggression, then it's highly likely, ladies and gentlemen, that Mike Pompeo also believes in the end time prophecy scenario. Mike Pompeo probably believes that the Dome of the Rock has to be destroyed. Mike Pompeo probably believes there has to be a third temple. Mike Pompeo believes in the end time prophetic narrative, which is nothing more than Jesuit propaganda, scripted prophecy to take us along a certain line towards a certain conclusion, which is plastic Jesus taking command of this entire earth. If you don't think that Donald Trump was elected president of the United States in order to make sure that that third temple gets built, then you're not paying attention. Donald Trump was personally bailed out to the tune of $1 billion by forces that want to see the third temple built. Donald Trump was personally bailed out to the tune of $1 billion by people that want to see Israeli interests advanced above and beyond all interests. The great Pat Buchanan once said that the American Congress was Israeli occupied territory. Well, Pat was right then, and I'm right now in saying that the U.S. White House is now Israeli occupied territory. And to think that there's a guy who's in charge of the democracy of the United States, first fly of spring, I'm going to get him. I think I got him. Anyway, to think that there's a Christian who wants to see Armageddon fulfilled as Secretary of State of the United States, that's really scary to me. Now, I don't think for a second that Donald Trump could give a rat's posterior about Bible prophecy. But he is bought and paid for. He is on a leash. He has to do what the people that bailed him out want him to do. That is, get that third temple built, make sure Israel's interests are at the fore. Now, he's got a fairly long leash, it looks like. He's able to do some things that he wants to do to fulfill his MAGA agenda. And some of those things are good. I'm not against it. But we've got to remember, Trump is there for one reason and one reason only, to get that third temple built. And everything that he can do that is good is subservient to that. And to have a guy like Pompeo as the number one diplomat in the United States of America, to me, is frankly terrifying. It's frankly terrifying. And I really don't know what we can do about it. All we can do is remain vigilant. All we can do is let people know what's going on. All we can do is put out the message. Rear Admiral John Kirby, a former State Department spokesman, said, Secretary Pompeo's assertion that President Trump may have been sent by God to save Israel would be laughable on its face if it weren't yet another indication that our Secretary of State recklessly crosses the line that should exist between church and state. The very idea that there is something biblical to the conduct of diplomacy, that foreign policy is some sort of evangelical endeavor, and that the American president is a champion of Judeo-Christian values alone, gives comfort to the extremists who see the West as crusaders, and unease to those who look to the United States as a protector of both religious and civic freedom. What he said is not only embarrassing, it's dangerous, and it's irresponsible, end quote. Rear Admiral John Kirby. I don't know much about Rear Admiral John Kirby, but I know he's right on there, ladies and gentlemen. When the Secretary of State says that a president of the United States has been lifted up to protect the sovereignty of another nation, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a cause for concern. If you love Donald Trump, you should contact the White House and your senators and say, look, Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. We would appreciate it if he would protect the United States and not worry so much about Israel. If you don't like Donald Trump, contact your senators and your congressmen and say, hey, look, tell Trump he got elected president of the USA, not Israel. This is crazy, ladies and gentlemen. This is troubling, ladies and gentlemen. And we've got to be diligent. We've got to be vigilant. We've got to keep this on the front burner, and we've got to let people know that they are doing everything they can to put the pedal to the metal to advance this Jesuit scripted prophetic end time scenario with a fake plastic Jesus, whether holographic or whether demonic, coming back to lead a great kumbaya moment at the Temple Mount between Islam, Roman Christianity, Roman Protestantism, and Judaism, so they can take us all over and divvy us out amongst them. I've got no desire to be ruled by anybody that serves Mike Pompeo's God. Let's go to the chat room and see what people have to say there, because we always have some brilliant people in this chat room, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to say here tonight. People who shop at Unsophisticated RS need to learn to cut the tags off. That's funny. Someone drinks the Jesuit Kool-Aid. That's also funny. Let's see what happens. What else? There's a New Jerusalem in the state that David lives in. That's interesting. That is interesting. God raised up Trump. That'll get him screaming. Yep. That's great propaganda, says Mandy. Absolutely. Sarah Sanders also made a similar statement. That's right. Let's see. I don't pay attention to the media hype about our president. This election really pissed off the Democrats. He's not your typical president, but he's never been your typical person or businessman either. Agreed, Arenas, but what does that have to do with him putting people in high positions that believe in biblical prophecy? And I tell you what, if you're the Secretary of State and you're espousing these kind of beliefs, you got to know that in his heart, he's trying to forward and champion biblical principles. And he's got the ear of Donald Trump, the president of the United States, whose finger's on the big red button. If that doesn't bother you, you are not paying attention. Chase says, I think you predicted this like 6 months ago. I did. Wow. Scripted nonsense. I agree with Nigel Worsley. Politics and religion, thumbs down. Well, Arenas, I have to tell you, I agree with you. Politics and religion shouldn't be together. But unfortunately, if we're going to unindoctrinate ourselves religiously, it's important to unindoctrinate ourselves politically as well. Thank you, Metaphysical Mama. Many dual citizenship in Congress, that should not be allowed, in my humble opinion. The higher echelons, Republicans and Democrats, are two sides of the same coin, two wings on the same bird. I agree with you, Darla Dawn. Trump Temple. Wow. Excellent. Excellent. Just looking through the rest of this. We're all under maritime law. I don't know about that. Flies carry vibration. Oh, that's interesting. Is it not possible, says Lit T, that more is going on behind the scenes, Jeff, just like with the wall? Is he trying to get Christians on board at their current development levels? I don't think so. But that's an interesting thing to bring up. How about someone who puts Muslim in high places? Did you complain about Obama? Well, Bonnie, obviously you haven't been paying much attention. So why don't you study up and bring yourself up to speed before you start saying silly things? In fact, right now, why don't you go sit down at the kiddie table until you learn how to be polite and get yourself up to speed with the adults in the rest of the room. Did I miss a lot, says Alexandria? Yeah. We're in the process of aligning with a new dimension, not the end of times. I agree with you. It's getting better. It's not getting worse. Yes. Interesting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting stuff. So, the Secretary of State says he's a biblical Christian. He thinks that God might have raised up Donald Trump to protect Israel. It's very likely he agrees with the rest of the end time eschatology scenario. That's frightening. We need to stay vigilant. We need to stay diligent. And we need to know that it's a wicked and an adulterous generation. You know what? Bye. That it's a wicked and an adulterous generation that seeks after a sign. And Jesus said there won't be any signs given for his coming. Why? Because he's already come in the human heart. You are divine. You are sovereign. You are free. You're not filled with original sin. You've got the spark of divinity within. No matter what Mike Pompeo's jealous, wrathful, baby-killing God thinks. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower. I'm here to help you guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, and be your own guru. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the last generation of real humans and the next generation of new gods. Ask questions, question answers, and unindoctrinate yourself.